Okay, so there was this guy yesterday, okay? Like, tell me if I'm, like, crazy for even thinking this, but there was this guy yesterday who was probably in his early 30s, late 20s, I think he was 32. But, so I saw him walking, and I was with Zach, and he had a bright orange hat on, and I'm aware that it's Multiple Sclerosis Awareness Month, but do you think he was trying to represent us MSers because maybe he had multiple sclerosis too? And I even asked Zach this. I was like, do you think he's wearing it because he has MS? Zach is like, no, maybe he just likes the color orange. And I was like, I like the color yellow, but you don't see me wearing a yellow hair bow ever. And Zach smiles at me, and I think he realized I had a point, but I couldn't just walk up to him and ask him if he had MS because I think he'd think I was crazy. But you know what, I'm just going to assume that he had multiple sclerosis because, I don't know, it was downtown, and it's like, that person wasn't, I don't know, like, I just felt like, I don't know, I have an inkling that he had multiple sclerosis, but if you just happen to be that dude with an orange hat and you were walking downtown in Toronto, yeah, I'm talking about you. So as I've just mentioned, right, it's Multiple Sclerosis Awareness Month. And I thought I would post a video every single week of this month just to kind of like represent my MSers or something. I don't know what to say. And kind of just put an awareness out there that, I don't know, multiple sclerosis exists. The reason I also wanted to be posting videos every single week, especially for this month, is because I know there's going to be someone out there who either has just been recently diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and maybe you need someone to talk to, or maybe you just need to do more Google search stuff, because I did a shitload of that in 2017, and let me tell you, I diagnosed myself with a tumor and all these other diseases that basically were just going to kill me right off the bat, and yeah, that was a terrible thing to do. So maybe if you come across this video and you've just been recently diagnosed, maybe it just makes you smile, because I don't know, I smile a lot. So yeah, we're in this together, guys. Yes, I titled this video My Perks to Multiple Sclerosis because, well, specifically because for the past, like, I would say 2 weeks now, I just haven't been feeling my best and everything was just stressing me out. So I wanted something to make me smile because I knew my multiple sclerosis was also getting to me at the time, like 2 weeks ago. So I thought I would list out the perks to my multiple sclerosis in a pro and con Venn diagram. I thought I would draw it out, and I did do that, and then I was like, you know what, no, I don't want to do this because I don't want to think of the cons to multiple sclerosis, because I could honestly go on and on about the cons to MS, but I wanted to do this because I wanted to see if there were any perks I could write down to MS or pros. Basically what I did was I literally wrote out a chart over here. It's literally 7 pages long. It's 2,438 words, where I'm literally talking about, oh my god, what did I do? Yeah, I'm literally talking about just my perks. So I literally have the title of the perk, and then I have like little section where it literally says elaborate, and that's what I did over here. And I keep glancing at it because I tend to get brain fog a lot. That's not really a perk to multiple sclerosis, but it's something that I have to deal with. And yeah, so I'm just going to get into this video and talk about my perks. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, believe me or not, but I've actually written down Overactive Bladder to being my perk or my pro to multiple sclerosis. And I know it's such a weird thing to say because an overactive bladder has been something I have been struggling with for quite a while now. I would say for about 4 years now. When I was actually thinking about it, though having an overactive bladder can be really frustrating, especially when it happens at like inappropriate times and at times where you don't want it to be happening at, right? I listed this as a perk because when I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, Pri, so it's either a overactive bladder as opposed to what? Using a catheter. And it's like, I don't mean to offend any of you who do use a catheter because, you know what, to each their own. Like, if this is something that you guys have to do to kind of release your stuff, then do it. If it makes you happy, if it makes you feel better, do it. But for me personally, I just feel very, I've mentioned this before, like I want to do things on my own in the sense where, I think even in one of my blog posts, I mentioned how though walking with a cane could potentially help me walk for most of the times, I didn't want to use one because I want to do this on my own, right? But that's just kind of like a goal I set for myself. It's not a goal that everyone should seek for who have MS, so just don't get me wrong on that. It's just my personal choice, I guess. But yeah, so having that overactive bladder, I'm happy that I can release everything. And I struggled so much with it, and I hated it so much because it's like, who really wants to have an overactive bladder in public? Like, it's embarrassing. So I totally feel you if you're also experiencing that. But yeah, so for me, I just chose the overactive bladder over using the catheter because even with an overactive bladder, you can protect yourself, right? Like whether you're wearing a diaper or like some other form of protection. Right now, I've mentioned before how I'm wearing the Tenna Fit Flex underwears. Those have been working out perfect for me. And for those of you who like messaging me after every single video I do post, to ask me if I'm wearing a diaper in the video, fun fact, I'm actually wearing my Fit Flex underwear right now. So, and I'm wearing tights right now too. These ones are from Uniqlo, so they're a little more thicker. And it works because you can't really notice it unless you're actually really trying to look to see if I'm wearing something like that, you know? So I don't really care. If people want to think what they want to think, then I'm going to let them think what they want to think because I've been bullied all my life that I don't care if people want to make fun of me anymore. It's like, I'm over it. The second thing I've written down is that I don't feel pain in the extent to which others may feel pain. In the sense where I do feel pain, like if it's something like if a car were to like drive over me, obviously I'm going to feel it. Actually, I don't know if I'll feel it, but I don't want to know. The example I thought of when I wrote this one down was my tattoos. So, I have two tattoos. I have one on my hand over here, and I have one on my wrist over here. I've actually had the reason as to why I got this one that says hope on one of my videos. It's titled Multiple Sclerosis, Bullies, and Depression, I think. Oh no, it's called Depression, Multiple Sclerosis, and Bullies. So I'll put a link down below for that if you guys want to check it out and hear my story of basically being bullied a lot. As for this tattoo, this one says breathe. I'm actually going to be talking about this in another video because I do want to talk about this. But anyways, I wrote this one down for I couldn't really feel pain in the sense where I remember when my tattoo artist, when he was working on the one on my wrist, I remember when he was halfway done, he really looks at me and he's like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how painful is this? And I looked at him and I was like, you started? Like, guys, I couldn't feel it. Like, it literally just felt like he was drawing on my hand. And because this was my first tattoo, I didn't really know what to expect, right? So I just thought he was going to draw something and then tattoo me, but tell me that he was tattooing me, in which he did, but I guess I just wasn't listening. Yeah, that sounds like pretty. So it was pretty funny because he was also telling me how people do find the wrist area to be pretty painful. The fourth thing I've listed down is that I don't feel cold in winter on most occasions as opposed to like the next person. So I live in Canada and Canada is known for the cold, so this is pretty weird that I'm even saying this. But this is a perk for me because I do a lot better in winter than I do in summer. Because summer, I can't deal with heat. Like, I feel cold in winter on most occasions, and by this I meant that in winter, right, a lot of people will be wearing their winter jackets and everything all bundled up with their scarves, their hats. But for me, I guess I wear a winter jacket, but I will literally have that winter jacket open even in a freaking snowstorm. Because for me, as I mentioned, I don't do well in heat. So if I were to be so bundled up as opposed to the next person, and if I actually feel like I'm melting and I'm just really a little too hot, I'm not going to do well. So I'd rather just be cold than be hot kind of thing. But yeah, so this just has been a perk because winter has been working out really well for me so far, and I just thought I should list this down. I've started to understand my body a lot better, and I personally feel like I wouldn't had if it weren't for MS. I do feel guilty saying that. But I do feel like people would be able to relate to me on this one where it's like you don't realize what you're doing wrong with your body until after the fact. That, you know what, Pri, you have a disease. You have multiple sclerosis and you're going to deal with it because of the way you've been eating or because of something that I just stupidly had done when I was younger because I did get diagnosed when I was 19. And I tend to be hard on myself on this, but it's fine. I've started to understand my body in the sense where I've become vegan like the very 1st of January of 2019. So it's been a little over a year now, and guys, I love it. Like, I do notice a difference. And on top of that, I'm also like noticing what it's like to have processed foods in the past, because I did find that it just kind of screws over with my bladder. I know what I'm eating is literally going to be affecting my bladder, for instance. So I've just started to understand my body better and what kinds of foods work for my body. That's a vegan. But veganism has been working for me 100%. And yes, I'm saying 100 even though I still have an overactive bladder, because bear in mind, with an overactive bladder, there's no schedule as to when you're going to be using the bathroom, right? As opposed to other people, they know when they're going to the bathroom. But with us, we just don't know. I've also started to understand my body better in the sense where I know how long I can walk for in relation to the weather outside. Like, if it's too hot, I'm only going to be able to walk for like 2 minutes and I'm going to have to sit down. But if it's cold, I will be able to walk for like longer periods of time, because I mentioned before, I function a lot better in the cold. I've become more aware about being grateful. I didn't realize that I was a very grateful person until 2017 hit. In 2017, I mentioned before how that was a very hard year for me because I got diagnosed that year as well, right? And I've been grateful in the sense where the example I could think of is when I spent months crying myself to sleep thinking I had a tumor and thinking that I had another disease that was going to kill me. And there were times where I was so scared to sleep because I thought I was going to die in my sleep. Like, you know when you just want to Google something that's wrong with you and you do that and then all these stupid things keep popping up? And yes, I came across people dying in their sleep and I thought I was going to die in my sleep. So some nights I wouldn't even sleep because I was that terrified. But yeah, I've just learned to become more grateful about what I do have, because I remember when my neurologist told me I had multiple sclerosis, that was the moment where I just felt like, oh my god, I get to live. I get to live. And I don't think any moment in my life has ever topped that moment, in the sense where I felt so grateful. I was aware of multiple sclerosis, right, prior to finding out that I had it. And I didn't really hear of many people who died from it or anyone who really died from it. But I was aware that I was going to have to deal with challenges, and I was okay with that because these challenges have been teaching me so much about life in general. And like, as I mentioned before, if it wasn't for MS, I wouldn't be learning the things that I've been learning about myself. I can't speak. I wouldn't have been learning things about myself as I was, I don't know what I was saying. Crap. The accommodations I was referring to was university. And these accommodations, basically when I have a test or an exam, I will literally write that in another room as opposed to actual class. And the only reason I also listed this as a perk was because though I do get extra time, accommodations that, you know, everyone does get at Ryerson, it's always in this one building that's right next to the subway station, and I like that because I just could get off the subway station, go to my accommodation building, and I'm done my test. You know what I mean? I don't have to walk much. Whereas if I were to write this test with another class, with my original class, I would probably have to go to like other buildings, and it's harder because it's further away from the station. But to be honest with you guys, I'm not a very street smart person. Like, I'm book smart, but when it comes to the street, honestly, I don't know. Like, I know this is north, south, west, and east, but when Zach is like, yeah, north is that way, and I was like, no, north is this way, because on a compass, north is on the top. Like, guys, I don't understand freaking directions. I really don't. So the 8th one I wanted to talk about is that I've been able to meet amazing people. For the sake of time, I'm only going to be talking about 2 people, and these 2 people I've met in person too. So the first person I'm going to be talking about is one of the professors that I had in one of my courses. Also bear in mind, I'm not going to say their name, and I'm not going to say the name of this course, because I don't want anyone to put 2 and 2 together to realize who I'm even talking about, you know what I mean? So, one of them was my professor, and you may think I'm a little weirdo for even putting a professor down for my perk to my multiple sclerosis, but this has been a perk in the sense where she's one person that I will most likely never forget about, in the sense where I had this professor last year. It was like early on in January, And the course we were taking, we had to work in groups, right? We each had assigned roles for the people in the group, right? And my role was a project leader, so I kind of took charge kind of thing. But I wasn't one of those annoying people in groups. I was actually fun, okay? I smiled a lot. I wasn't a stressful person, at least I don't think I was. What we had to do for the project leader, at least, so for me, one of the things I had to do was put together a portfolio that kind of showed our progress, or the group's progress, to completing the final project, which was 3D printing. And the portfolio that we did create, I do still have. It's not this one. It's this. And I honestly have this one because this was kind of relevant to my multiple sclerosis, but I'm not going to get much into it because it's just, honestly, it's going to be too much of me talking about this assignment. But basically, the portfolio that I created, if you don't know me by now, I put labels on everything. So I put labels on everything that our professor wanted us to kind of cover in the portfolio. So this went from the table of contents, the 3D prototype, our notes, our thinking. Wow, I'm so organized. Knowledge. I haven't looked at this for like a year now. Those were the little categories she wanted us to cover in the portfolio. So yeah, it was that organized, and I put the labels here. I think my group was really excited that I even did this because they knew that we were gonna get a good mark. I mean, I think we only got an 80 on this, but it was still an A, so it was okay. But that's not why I've listed this professor down as to someone who I'll never forget about. But I remember in the thinking section that I was just kind of talking about, I kind of asked my group to kind of give me just one page of where their thinking developed from for our final project, right? And my thinking part of it, I also labeled that as well, but my thinking part of it was on the week 1 critical questions. And our professor wanted us to also post like 2 questions we had at the end of every class. If I'm to be honest with you guys, I failed this section because I always forgot to do it. My memory is not the best, but you know what? I got a 4.0 in this course, and yeah, so it's whatever. It could have been a 4.33 if I just remembered to do this shit, but no, my freaking brain fog just always gets in the way. But yeah, so my thinking process was I kind of just printed out what I had written for one of my questions for the week 1 critical questions. My question was, can physical development be improved through a vegan diet? This question was personal to me because I have multiple sclerosis, and this was something I have always thought about. For instance, though I am doing better now, was it my infusions or my vegan diet that improved my physical development? And I wrote this question, right? And bear in mind that when you write these questions down, the entire class can actually view it on D2L kind of thing. And D2L is kind of like the Ryerson system. I think it was about 2 or 3 days later. My professor actually emailed me, and she emailed me and she told me how amazed she was that I even opened up to having multiple sclerosis. And even when she said this, guys, in my head I'm thinking, little does she know that I have a multiple sclerosis journey video on YouTube. But as I was reading through that email, right, she was also telling me how she found me on YouTube. And I thought it was so interesting because the moment she said that, I was like, okay, this is really interesting because there's no way she would have found me on YouTube unless she actually searched up multiple sclerosis. But later in that email, she even writes how her partner has multiple sclerosis. And I shouldn't be smiling right now, but I smile with everything. But when she said that, guys, I had tears just kind of like going down my face. Yes, in the middle of class. Because at that very moment, right, like this was last year in January, I didn't really know many people who had MS who also lived in Toronto, or at least I think he lives in Toronto. But I just thought it was so amazing that I just wasn't alone, and it just made me feel so good. And maybe that's just a weird thing to say, but it's like, you know when someone else is going through what you're going through and it just makes you feel like you're just not alone anymore. And it's like, I think I even written that down in the email too, but I thought it was really sweet that my professor had even like, I don't know, told me about that. I just thought it was crazy. And what I thought was even more amazing was 2 months ago, I actually emailed this professor to actually ask her if she could write me a reference letter for Teachers College. And I honestly didn't know if she was going to reply back because I didn't even know she would remember me. And and she actually wrote me a letter, and the letter she wrote me was so crazy because I'm not gonna lie, it also made me cry, okay? I'm a very sensitive person, and this professor has made me cry twice, okay? But she's made me cry twice for like 2 good reasons. But like, the things that she wrote in my reference letter was crazy. Like, she wrote good things, obviously, but she also mentioned how I make videos on YouTube as well. But her point in even saying that and mentioning that was the fact that in this technology-driven world, that's going to become so useful, right? And it's like, yes, I have that memorized because I read this reference letter so many times. I always read it when I feel so like upset about myself for no reason, and it does make me smile. Like, I literally have it printed on my freaking board over there, and I always look at it when I want something to make me smile. And yeah, this is a professor that I'm just never going to forget about. So if you just happen to be watching my video right now, and though I didn't say your name, you'll know who I'm talking about. So thank you for being amazing. So the second person who I wanted to talk about was this one girl who I actually met in person. Also not going to mention her name, but if you're watching my video, I'm pretty sure you're going to know I'm talking about you. She actually messaged me on Instagram to tell me she has multiple sclerosis as well. I'm going to be talking about a few things that we had in common because I thought it was pretty interesting. And basically she has multiple sclerosis, as I just mentioned, but she also goes to Ryerson just like me. She's in her 5th year just like I am. And you know when people tell you not to ever ask anyone their age? Yeah, I'm that kind of person to ask people their age because I need to know how old you are. And basically, to top the icing on the vegan cake was the fact that she told me how her birthday was in November as well. When she told me this, guys, I freaked out. I was like, what day are you born on? Because I wanted to know who was older, right? I can't remember what day she said, but I do remember thinking she was born a week after me. So that literally just meant that she was also a Scorpio, just like me. Though I'm an atheist, I do believe in horoscopes in the sense where if I meet a Scorpio, I feel like I'm able to connect with them at a different level than I am with other people because I do get socially awkward sometimes. But yeah, just, if you're a Scorpio, I can go on and talk forever with you. I thought this was really interesting because I find that a lot of people who have been messaging me on Instagram to tell me that they have multiple sclerosis, you guys have either been in your late 20s or early 30s or even older. So it was just really nice to meet someone who's exactly my age because I never had that before. So I thought it was cool. I've been able to meet like amazing people that live outside of Canada in the sense where when I say meet, I'm not talking about in person, I'm talking about on Instagram. I've been able to connect with a lot of people and it's been so amazing because if I had just known in 2017 to make my multiple sclerosis journey video then and not in 2018, I honestly would have felt less alone in 2017. And to think of all the support that I'm getting now, to think that I could have had this kind of support in 2017 as well, it's like I wish I had done this sooner. Like, you know what I mean? Because you guys have literally been messaging me and making me feel less alone. And you've been supporting me and I've been supporting you and it's been so great. Like, we've developed like this relationship and I think it's amazing because even with people who don't have MS too, right? For people who have an overactive bladder, like, I kid you not, guys, I've been able to talk to quite a few people and I could say that I have a lot of friends now and it's like, I couldn't have said that last year, honestly. So it's really cool that I've been able to meet a lot of you guys or talk to a lot of you guys. And yeah, so I just thought I should throw that in there. I found that I pushed myself a lot more, like not even just with walking too, but more so with the things that I wanted to accomplish. Because I remember in 2017, I was experiencing my very first relapse and that was honestly very terrifying for me because I haven't experienced that before, right? But even while experiencing that, I was working a full-time job in summer, so literally in heat. And I was also working a part-time job, so I was keeping myself occupied kind of thing. I think I was trying to distract myself, but it did work in a sense. And when I think about today, I think when I can't do something, like today, for instance, all I could think is, you know what, Pri, if this was 2017, you would have done everything you could just to walk across the street, so you're going to do that right now. And it's like, I will do it. It's like doing what I did in 2017 and pushing myself, especially in 2017, has literally been kind of like my motivation to never give up. Message me on Instagram if you're also going through multiple sclerosis and like some of the symptoms that you guys encounter, because I don't know, I just want to know what things people go through, and if you just need someone to talk to, I'll be here. It's so funny because a few people do message me on Instagram. When I reply back to them, they'll get so shocked. They'll be like, wow, I didn't think you would reply back. But guys, I'm just like any other person. Like, of course I'm gonna reply back to you. You know what? We're in this together. So if you have multiple sclerosis or you're experiencing some other things that I'm also experiencing, or maybe you just need someone to talk to, send me a message on Instagram. I don't want anyone to feel alone. And yeah, pretty much it to my video. I hope you guys found this video interesting somewhat. And yeah, so subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. Follow me on Instagram and check out my blog. I've actually posted a little write-up again, so I think you guys should check it out because I thought it was interesting. And yeah, so that's pretty much it, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.